Yeah, I'm a coke addict. Total coke addict.
I have friends who are upper class, I have friends who are, working class, but I'm not working class.
Because the $1 Million Man always gets his way.
You work in a business? Do you want some fruit?
I'm homeless.
This is the unelected Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak, and he said some weird stuff about climate change and holidays. Apologies for the microphone today, unfortunately it seems to have broken, and at the moment I'm trying to raise some funds in which to pay for a new mic. Rishi was on the BBC defending his position and what he was doing for Scotland, and interestingly, he was talking about climate change.
We will see great progress. This is not something that happens overnight. This is something that will take time, but it will create jobs in the UK, but in Scotland in particular, in Aberdeenshire, which is fantastic. We think it will support over 20,000 jobs, in fact, the carbon capture and storage industry, but also help us transition to net zero, because it is an important part of how we will get to net zero.
Net zero. So the idea is that you eventually reduce your carbon emission output. Sounds like good progress from Rishi.
And yet,
by using carbon capture and storage.
And yet you're announcing 100 new North Sea oil and gas drilling licences, apparently. Is that right?
That's right. Rishi Sunak wants to get to net zero by drilling for more oil and gas.
Yes, that is right, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. If you look at all the projections...
In what way does that enhance our chances of getting to net zero?
Well, because even when we reach net zero in 2050, a quarter of our energy needs will still come from oil and gas.
Except that's total codswallop. 80% of the oil is just sold onto the open market. It doesn't go into English coffers, and he knows that. 61% of gas doesn't go back into the UK. It goes abroad. And the worst thing is, all of that oil and gas could be run by the state, the profits go into a sovereign fund, and we start getting richer. But no. Rishi's got to help out his fossil fuel mates.
And domestic gas production has about a quarter or a third of the carbon footprint of imported gas. So not only is it better for our energy security not to rely on foreign dictators for that energy, not only is it good for jobs, particularly Scottish jobs, it's actually better for the environment.
That's right. Rishi Sunak thinks burning oil and gas is actually really good for the environment. There are no consequences. But there was also that little comment, that sneaky little comment about Russia and not relying on dictators. Isn't that funny? Have a listen to this.
That you've got family links to Russia, that your wife apparently has a stake in the Indian IT consultancy firm Infosys. Are you giving advice to others that you're not following in your own home?
It's not. I'm an elected politician and I'm here to talk to you about what I'm responsible for. My wife is not.
She is not, but equally, if you as a country, we are asking taxpayers to fund the UK's support for Ukraine. We're asking people in the UK to give their homes up to Ukrainian refugees, whereas it appears your family potentially could be benefiting from Putin's regime.
No, I don't think that's the case. And as I said, the operations of all companies are up to them. We've put in place significant sanctions, and all the companies that we're responsible for are following those, as they rightly should, sending a very strong message to Putin's aggression.
Do you know if Infosys is?
I have absolutely no idea, because I have nothing to do with that company.
Except he does, because his wife gets dividends from that company, and if he was to divorce her, for example, he would get half of that cash. But the interview didn't end there, and it got a little bit spiky.
I'm being shouted at now to let you go because our time frustratingly has run out. Hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to you at greater length at some point in the near future to really get into some of these subjects. Let me just ask you finally before you go, how are you getting up here to make this green announcement today? Private jet?
I'll be flying as I normally would, and that is the most efficient use of my time. But again, I think actually that question brings to life a great debate here. If you or others think that the answer to climate change is getting people to ban everything that they're doing, to stop people flying, to stop people going...
Exactly. It's do as I say, not as I do, and we see that all the time with the Conservative government. Once again, remember COVID? Remember all of that? Stay at home, don't socialise with people. Do what we say, not as we do.
Chancellor?
No, Mr. Speaker, I did not attend any parties.
But we know he did, because we have police fines and photographs.
To stop people going on holiday. I mean, I think that's absolutely the wrong approach.
Yes, you did just hear what you think you heard. Asked about private jets, Rishi starts talking about holiday makers. Rishi has somehow got it into the head that we all jump on one of these, which Rishi does on a regular basis, to go on holiday. No, Rishi, this is how most of us go on holiday. We get on a passenger jet. And it's not just the BBC that have been critical about Rishi taking planes.
The UK's Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has been constantly under criticism regarding his wealth and somewhat lavish lifestyle. The latest findings show Sunak spent more than $600,000 of taxpayers' money in a span of just 2 weeks last year. According to the new data, Sunak used the money to hire a private jet for a last-minute trip to the COP27 climate change conference in Egypt. Downing Street has been justifying the expenditure, saying the jet was needed for vital meetings.
And those meetings would also include Tory events, which he could have gone to by train.
Prime Minister, I saw that you flew to Blackpool Airport today on a private jet instead of travelling by train, obviously when there's a climate emergency and using taxpayers' money. I was just wondering, since you found Blackpool Airport so useful to arrive here today and access this part of the North West, why can't we have the money for it to be reopened for commercial use?
Right, so, I travel around so I can do lots of things in one day. I'm not travelling around just for my own enjoyment, although this is very enjoyable, of course, right? I'm travelling around so I can talk to people in Accrington this morning, then I can talk to you, and then I'm going to get over to Hartlepool because I'm working on all of your behalf, right? And trust me, I'm working as hard as I can to deliver for you, and I travel to make myself as effective as possible on all of your behalf. And you talk about investing in Blackpool, right? What have we done? We actually just announced today £40 million of investment in Blackpool.
No, that's not what she said. She asked about the commercial airport being open because you're able to fly in via private jet, and he starts talking about investing in Blackpool.
Right, they're getting, I think, actually you talk about climate change, I think what they're getting in Blackpool from memory, but someone will correct me, I think they're getting a new university campus that is focused on net zero.
Right, that's absolutely the wrong approach. I mean, every Prime Minister before me has also used planes to travel around the United Kingdom because it's an efficient use of time for the person running the country, so I can keep focusing on delivering for people.
Doubles down. What, is there something wrong with our trains? Why haven't we got train systems that take us all the way up from London to Edinburgh? Why have we not got fast trains going all the way up to Birmingham? Why is it that we're behind Japan in that ability by around 40 years when they established the bullet train, although arguably earlier, but we're talking top speeds that almost equal a jet. As of 2012, some of these trains go at 250 kilometers an hour. Some, by 2014, hit 500 kilometers an hour. The average speed of a private jet is 700. We could have done this by now, but the government has stalled. And it's practically useless when it comes to fast-speed train networks.
But if your approach to climate change is to say no one should go on holiday, no one should take on a plane, I think you are completely and utterly wrong.
Am I?
Right? That is absolutely not the approach to tackling climate change.
There's a difference between travelling by private jet and taking a flight.
What we are doing is investing in sustainable aviation fuel as one of the new technologies, like carbon capture and storage, will help us make the transition.
Carbon capture factories are not efficient. In fact, there's a level of irony and self-defeat in building factories that use the electricity of fossil fuels to take out the carbon produced by fossil fuels. The most efficient way to tackle carbon emissions is these. Trees. Big, beautiful trees, and especially the British favourite, the oak, which has one of the highest CO2 absorption rates. Carbon capture factories are a stupid idea.
It's not about banning flying, it's about investing in new technologies.
He's right, it's not about banning. It's about questioning why you should be using that to get around. But he twists it by making out the problems created by millionaires are the problems created by the public, and that by attacking the millionaires, you're really attacking the public.
Like sustainable aviation fuel that will make flying more sustainable.
Clean, sustainable petrol? You heard this one? It's almost like saying get clean mud. What on earth are they talking about when they say this? Clean coal? Clean mud. Yes, we can have clean mud and we can all eat it.
That's the right approach to this. But I look forward to having that conversation with you again.
Well,
Thanks very much for having me.
We have to let you go. Will you commit to coming back on and speaking to us longer in future?
I think this is the second time I've been on your show in the short space of time I've been Prime Minister, but I'm sure I'll be there again in the future.
It was amazing to see how irked he was by that question, because obviously, as you've seen, people have brought it up before. Why are you taking a private jet? We have a cost of living crisis, and yet you're spending millions on that. We have a climate crisis, and yet you're pumping CO2 into the air. And he's not doing anything about private jets, and there's more to this. According to the Times, 1 in 10 flights taking off from the UK are private jets. In fact, there are 3,000 trips taken to Paris annually. And those trips could be taken by Eurostar, which are in need of people using its service, and is environmentally friendly in comparison to that of the private jet. But of course, Sunak's going to defend those millionaires
I'm not working class.
over your lives and over the lives of millions who are affected by climate boiling. And I'll add one more thing. It seems like an excess to be able to go off and fly is damaging to the environment, so why is it not being taxed more? If 1 in 10 flights are coming out of the UK, and we have the highest number of private jets in Europe, sounds like a lot to me, and it sounds like a lot of excess cash that should be taxed. Apologies for the state of my microphone this week. Unfortunately, it broke at the very last minute, and I'm not sure on how I'm going to be able to repair this because, unfortunately, microphones are very expensive. If you'd like to help out with a donation, please click the link in the description, connected to my crowdfunder. In the meantime, thank you once again for making it all the way to the end of this video. All your likes and subscribes help this channel to continue to grow. Thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters. You definitely keep this channel going and growing. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.